watching Numbskull News, and today I'm going to talk about realignment. What the hell is realignment? You got a lot of people, and I mean big media types all the way down to small channels like mine, that have been speculating and ruminating on realignment for the last 2 years. And a lot of people have put out a lot of BS, including me, about realignment. So it just makes me wonder, well, what the hell is this? What is the proper timeline? What is it all about? Everybody has their own answers. Everybody's the smartest guy in the room. And it's no different here. In my room, I'm the smartest guy. But then again, I'm the only person here. If you listen to the big media, big journalists out there, big sports journalists, they all feel there's some kind of cabal, right? ESPN is working behind the scenes, controlling everything, or Fox, or the Big Ten and the SEC are colluding to conspire to destroy college sports and have all of us fans hanging from trees by our feet and our heads being dunked into boiling oil. Well, that's not what's going on. It's all by chance. That's right. There's no big cabal. There's no big plan. Everyone's winging it out the ass. Just certain people see opportunity somewhere and they go get it. All right, let me set it up for you. ESPN, they're owned by Disney, and Disney was killing it in the 2010s. The MCU is rocking and rolling. They bought Lucasfilm, and they're making over $1 billion a movie, pumping out new Star Wars movies. Avengers Endgame comes out in 2019, most successful movie of all time, over $2 billion at the box office. You know, they even had animated movies coming out making, damn near $1 billion or over $1 billion. So they were just, they're printing money at Disney. They're looking at how do you grow? How do you reinvest this money? They look at ESPN. Okay, what are their assets? What do we need to lock down here? Oh, look, the SEC. The SEC's been a good money maker for ESPN, but they don't have the sole rights to it. They're CBS. Well, ESPN said, well, right there. How do we get all the rights to the SEC? Screw everybody else. Screw Sharon. We want it all. The #1 football conference in America. How do we get all the rights? Well, we outbid everybody. We spend more money than everybody. Why? Because we're printing money right now. No one can match us. And they were right. So they worked out a deal with the SEC and gave them an ass ton of money. Historical money. Now, that set the stage, of course. That set the market for the Big Ten later on to get their huge deal from Fox. But before that would happen, people at Texas and Oklahoma are looking over there at the SEC and like, good God Almighty, how do we get a payday like that? And they started thinking, could the Big 12 get paid like that in 2025 with Texas and Oklahoma and all these brands? No. We're not going to get paid like that. They kicked back. Wheels started turning. Well, hey, who says we got to stay in the Big 12? I mean, sure, we've basically ran the conference for decades, but we can just bolt out of here and get a paycheck, make it real easy on ourselves. So that's what they did. That's what they did. And sure enough, here comes USC and UCLA. Do this. Look what Texas and Oklahoma just did. We don't have to stay in the pack for this BS money. We can go to the Big Ten, make it real easy for ourselves. But along the way of all this happening, there's COVID. All of a sudden, the money from the box office dries up for Disney. They've over-leveraged, spent too much money on Disney Plus, even though they're probably one of the top 5 streamers right now since they've came out. I mean, it's been wildly successful, but they're still losing money because they're having to create and spend a ton of money on new content because it's only their IPs. They don't use licensed anything. It's everything they own that goes on Disney Plus. And right now, they're not making money on it. They eventually will. It'll eventually be a cash cow for them, but you have to kind of get through those hard and difficult years and set it up. And that's what they're doing. But I think they were looking at, hey, we're killing it at the box office. We're going to keep killing it. We got these IPs that are printing money. We could go ahead and lose money on Disney Plus for 10, 20 years. Doesn't matter, because at the end of that time, we're going to have so much intellectual property stuffed into that thing that's exclusive to Disney Plus. We'll be the biggest streamer on earth. So it'll be worth it at that time. And then we can kind of tamp it down a little bit. We don't have to keep pumping out so much new content, and expensive content, by the way. We won't have to keep doing that. But there was an economic downturn, and, well, the money dried up. So they had to kind of change direction, didn't they? They had to do something a little different. Now, it came time to try to lock down, because they need more than SEC content. There's a large family of channels plus ESPN Plus. They got to feed all that. So they go to the Pac-12, who came up to market first. And lo and behold, they scoffed at the deal they were offered. What in the shit? I mean, there's some nice brands there in the Pac-12. But, and unfortunately, Fox bolted right away. They didn't want any part of it. But ESPN said, okay, we'll take the whole thing. Here's 31.7 or whatever $1 million a year for each school. That should do it. I mean, it's a raise from what they're getting now. And that's without LA. Great deal. Well, not according to the PAC. They said, screw you, we're going to go to market. And you can imagine ESPN. You can imagine them saying, you're going to go to market on us? We're offering you a killer deal. We're giving you more money without LA. How in the hell are you passing that up? Well, they did. And sure enough, here came the Big 12 a knocking. Said, hey, we have our homeboys Endeavor would like to talk about maybe coming to market early. Matter of fact, the way I heard it was ESPN asked, and Fox asked, the Big 12 to come to market early. But however you want to believe it went down, doesn't really matter. What happened was the Big 12 did go to market early, exclusively negotiated with ESPN and Fox. And they said, oh, that deal that you want to throw out there, that you were offering the PAC, we'll take that deal. And ESPN, that was the money they had to spend. Fox, that's all the money they wanted to spend. And wouldn't you know it? Boom. They land the Big 12 ahead of the Pac-12. And by the way, let me backtrack a little bit more. So the Big 12 was left for dead, right? So they added 4 new schools. And notice those 4 schools, they didn't get the same kind of BS that SMU is dealing with right now, where you have the CFP committee, who's in charge of the payouts, don't want to pay out SMU to a full autonomous conference level share. They don't want to do that. Not a power share, if you will. They want them to keep getting their group of 5 pay. All right. But Cincinnati, but BYU and Houston and UCF didn't have to deal with that. And, I've heard the question asked, but never heard a good answer. Well, I'll tell you what the answer is. At that time, when the Big 12 added those 4, I believe all the powers that be just assumed, as far as the Big 10 and the SEC and everybody just assumed that, oh, that conference is going to die off. I mean, they'll be relegated to a group of 5 with those brands, and that'll be it. The Pac-12 will get their media deal, and then, the ACC's locked in, so everyone's locked in. It's all good, and those 4 won't get that full share. of the CFP money. But what happened? ESPN and Fox did a deal with them instead of the Pac. So now the Pac gets eliminated. 2 teams go to the Big Ten. 4 come out to the Big 12. And then the other 2, Stanford and Cal, somehow stupidly go to the ACC. And so now we get to see what real relegation looks like. Because Oregon State and Washington State, they're not going to go to an autonomous conference. They're going to stay right where they are. The Big 12 isn't going to take them. The Big 10 isn't going to take them. The ACC is not going to take them. No one's going to take them. It's already, that part has been decided. Because now, what the CFP committee and what everyone's talking about is, okay, we need less mouths to feed. All right, there's only so much money we're going to get out of this new ESPN extension of $1.3 billion. We don't need to be, cutting up more slices of the pie of that for Oregon State and Washington State. They're going to go to the group of 5, and they're going to make that money. All right. They're probably thinking, wow, we had no idea what the Big 12 was going to do. But now things are changing up, right? And by the way, those are the last 4 real group of 5s that are going to be in power conferences. They're going to get to move up a level. Now, I know you said, well, hold up. SMU's already moved up a level. No, they haven't. They'll be playing ACC games, but eventually that conference has been targeted for termination. We all know this now. Florida State, Clemson, they're going to jet. All that's going to get busted wide open. ESPN, they're going to opt out in 2027. There will be no deal for them going to 2036. That will end in 2027. And then they're completely screwed. And at that point, whatever teams can't get into the Big Ten, can't get into the SEC, and most of them, 85%, 90% of those teams are not going to those 2 conferences because they don't want to keep, having to slice up another piece of that CFP pie that's going way, way up. And the Big Ten and the SEC, they want the biggest overall share of that ESPN money for the CFP. And they'll get it. They'll get it. And truthfully, do they deserve it? Probably, because the reason that number is so high from ESPN, even though not as high as some people speculated it was going to be at 1.3, but the reason it's that high is because of the huge brands the Big Ten and the SEC have that will make a playoff and get huge ratings. Do they deserve to get paid more? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. What is about to happen to the ACC is what we saw with the Pac-12. It's going to happen again. And some people try to make these big connectors on all these moves. Oh, it's connected to this. No. Maybe someone saw someone else do something and say, hey, we could do the same thing, like USC seeing what Texas and Oklahoma did. But a lot of this stuff just comes down to opportunity, how the cards play out. No one saw the Big 12 surviving. Not as a power conference. But now they are definitely a power conference with Utah, Colorado, and the Arizona schools coming in. They are that now. All right, they didn't bring in SMU and Calford. They brought in 4 really good brands into the Big 12. That solidifies them into the future. And it solidifies those 4 schools into the future as well. And come 2027, you're going to get more schools. Louisville, Virginia Tech, NC State, who knows? Duke. Dare I say Miami? I don't know. Well, I don't know. But we're going to get some schools out of there. But keep in mind, more relegation is going to happen. There's going to be, like the Wake Forest and maybe Boston College, maybe Syracuse. What happened to Oregon State and Washington State is going to happen to them, where they're like, okay, You can have the ACC brand if you want it. Do what you will, but you're not going to be an autonomous conference any longer. You can backfill. You can merge with the American. You can do whatever you want. You know, merge with Conference USA if you like. We don't care, because your teams won't be making that top end slice of that CFP pie anymore. You're not going to get that big share anymore. That's what the SEC and the Big Ten care about. And ultimately, that's what the Big 12 kind of cares about as well. Because if there's only 3 autonomous conferences, well, then maybe the Big 12 isn't going to make right up there with what the SEC and the Big Ten do as far as CFP payout, but it won't be that far off. It won't be that far off. And then you look at what Mr. Baker from the NCAA is proposing and what seems to be on the fast track to getting done, which is revenue sharing per school. And you don't have to do it. You don't have to opt in. You can play a college schedule. You're just not going to take part in the CFP. You're not going to get that payout. You're not going to be able to play for that title. Maybe there'll be another title you can play for. So the whole thing will be, you got to opt in. You got to pay half your players $30,000. We don't know what the exact numbers are going to be. That's what was proposed. That's what people like. They like that idea, but we don't know the exact. It could be 28,000. Could be 20,000. Don't know. Everyone wants to have this separate subdivision. And these are all the CFP teams. Instead of being all the Conference USA and all of the Sun Belt and all of the blah, blah, blah out there. No. You got to pay to play. That's how they're going to set it up. Of course, I'm not worried about the Big 12. They can all afford to pay to play. Even Arizona, they can pay to play. But really, they want to get as many teams as possible out of the autonomous zone, if you will. And they want to scrap the ACC. ESPN's already working on that. They saw how well that did for them with the PAC. And they save a lot of money just bringing in some PAC schools and sharing the freight with Fox. They're going to do the same thing with the ACC. Which means Fox isn't going to pay for 4, 5, 6 teams out of the ACC to go to the SEC for that kind of money. Well, they'll get a pay cut. No, they're not going to do it, because eventually they will be full members, and the hell with that. And Fox isn't going to do that with the Big Ten either. So cut out that. Y'all need to cut out those daydreams of half the damn ACC is going to go into the SEC or the Big Ten. No. Nothing that we're seeing, and there's absolutely zero proof of any of that happening. I know there's been some big media types speculating on that. It's funny how they like to get on to the smaller YouTubers or people like on Twitter or X. People like MHVR3, they like to jump down everyone else's ass for speculating and coming up with some shit. But when they do it, and I'm sorry, that's what all the super conference crap, the whole, the Big Ten and SEC splitting off and doing their own thing and cutting everybody else out. All of that is speculation from the big media. That's their speculation. Of course, there's no proof of this. Oh, somebody told me. Oh, somebody told you. But are they going to do that? No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that because ESPN and Fox don't want to do that. Period. There's that. And look, I heard it said, like on 365 Sports, well, if they did that, some people would be pissed. But just like when Colin Kaepernick did his knee thing and people said, well, I'm not going to watch the NFL anymore. Sure, their ratings dropped a little bit for like a short period of time. Now they're higher than they have ever been. It'll be the same thing. No, that's not the same thing. It's not. Die hard Big 12 fans. Die hard ACC fan. No, they're not going to be watching those two conferences play circle jerk all year. They won't. Right now, most of the college football fandom, they'll stop down, they'll watch Alabama versus Georgia, or they'll watch Ohio State versus Michigan, or Texas versus Oklahoma. They'll watch those huge matchups, right? That's part of what college football's always been, the big matchup. Okay, they'll watch that. But you piss off enough people like that. No. That's the Kaepernick knee times a billion. That knee doesn't mean shit. You're talking about diehards, and you're taking a shit on their team. You won't get one West Virginia person ever to watch Texas and OU again, or Georgia, Alabama, or LSU, whoever. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, whatever, Penn State, Nebraska. They ain't watching none of that shit. No, TCU fans, they ain't going to watch it either. Texas Tech, they're out. And you can keep going down the list of how many teams fans and conference fan. I'm a Big 12 conference fan. There's a lot of those. ACC conference fans, there's a lot of those. So all these other outlets, everyone's like, oh, well, they'll come back and watch the big game. Why? Why? It's not like we're ever going to get a chance to play them. Not in a meaningful game. If that's what happened. And you see, ESPN and Fox know that shit. This is different. College is different, and they know it's different. Loyalties are different. This isn't the NFL. It's not, where everybody gets treated the same. Everyone has an equal shot. Everything is parity. This isn't parity. This is the haves and the have-nots. So if all the haves want to have even more and screw you, they'll be shut out. It's as simple as watching West Virginia instead of Georgia. Watching Cincinnati instead of Ohio State. Watching Iowa State instead of Iowa. Keep going down the list. Watching Louisville instead of Kentucky. And I know there's more single school fans. There's more Ohio State fans than there are, Oklahoma State fans. Sure. A lot more. But you're still cutting out millions of Big 12 fans that would watch your product. And if you want to kick them in the nutsack like that, they definitely won't. Why am I watching Alabama versus Georgia? Why do I give two shits about, oh, it's a great game? Aren't you a college football fan? No, I'm a Big 12 fan. I'm a TCU fan. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn right now. And if you kick my conference in the nutsack like that, I'm not even going to ever pay attention to anything you ever do again. No, they won't just get over it and go back to watching the big games of the big two conferences. Not if that move's made. So in finish up this video. Why did I make the video? I mean, I'm regurgitating a lot of information you already know. Maybe a little bit of it you don't. It's just to let you know that realignment, all this realignment, it hadn't been planned. It's been happenstance. It's been opportunities presented to certain people who took the opportunity. It's all it's been. It's all Texas and OU did. I love Greg Flugar. He says, hey, Texas and OU did this because there's a court case coming. No. I mean, I won't say no. But that's not the sole reason. That's not even the most important reason. He thinks it is. It is an important reason. I would say revenue sharing is maybe a little more of that. Maybe that's some of the stuff he's talking about. But, I mean, the court case plays a role in that. Coming revenue sharing plays a role in that. But ultimately, it's about making more money. Now, you may feel, hey, does that secure you more for the future? Yeah, that's kind of one of the things he's talking about. But I think it comes down to basic greed more than anything else. Texas and OU saw a way to make that happen. I don't know if I can't give them all this credit for all this lofty future-seeing shit. I mean, not the way I've seen those two operate. They've always operated whatever benefits them, not the conference, not any other teams, what benefits them. But mostly, folks, what realignment about, it's about money. Making money, saving money. That's it. It's not about the educational dollar. Not about your academics. About what football can do for you and the money it can make for you. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. What it's always been about. Don't let anybody tell you anything any different. You know, well, could it help you with a court case? Sure. That's not the main. It would still be going on. It'd still be happening. Without revenue sharing, without court cases, they'd still be doing it because of big freaking money. Anyway, it's all I got on this crap right now. I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.